Hi, my name is David Farnetti, and welcome to Crimson Kennels. I put together this video for you bulldoggers out there as a chronology of the American Bulldog from 1987 to the present. The reason why I got involved with the Bulldog was because I used to own English Bulldogs. My first one was Rocky, and that was in 1975. I then had another dog named Spike in 1979. These dogs broke my heart with all of their health problems. And I really did a lot of research in Colonel Bailey Haynes's complete Bulldog book, and I figured that I really wanted the Bulldog of old, the Bulldog from the 17th and 18th centuries. And that's when I went to see John D. Johnson in 1986. I was met at the door by his guard dog Sugar Doll, and I told John D. that that's really what I wanted. I wanted an American Bulldog. Back in '86, I also talked with Mike Margentina, and I tried to get a hold of Steve Leclerc. Unfortunately, I never did quite connect with Steve, so I never visited his kennels. I did connect with Mike Margentina, however, and I felt that his presentation of his dogs was not really what I wanted. I believed at the time Mike had a lot of fighting stock, and I was not going to involve myself in that type of activity. So that led me to John D. Johnson, where I made the 15-hour ride and fell in love with his dogs. John D. then turned me on to James Ellerby, who was only 3 hours from my home, and I picked up 2 other dogs after I got my first from John D. Funny thing is that I really didn't want the dog John D. picked out for me. I wanted a dog out of his dog Aristocrat and Rose. Instead, John D. gave me a dog out of his dog Machine Buckaroo and Sugar Doll 20. And that dog wasn't even pick of the litter. John D. kept that one for himself. So I drove back home with what I considered to be not my first choice of a bulldog. Oh yeah, the name of that dog was Dozer. Let's take a look back at some of the old stock that I used that helped shape my line. You'll see pictures and video of the dogs which are strong in my bloodline. Do you bulldoggers recognize this dog? That's Red Machine, 1986, out of John D. Johnson's yard on my first visit. Big head, kind of bowed at the leg, but a long-lived bulldog for bulldogs. That dog is Rambo. Now, Rambo was a dog, unfortunately, that died early on John D. Johnson. It was a big dog. Broke his heart when he died. I'm sure you recognize this dog. That's Rippin' Woody from Kyle Sims. That's a picture he sent me, but that's in my line. Going down to Sugar Doll. Now, Sugar Doll is John D. Johnson's guard dog. I fell in love with this dog. This is what made me buy the American Bulldog. What a great dog she was. That's Aristocrat. That's the dog I wanted a puppy from. I love this dog. Very tall in the leg, as you could see. Good head, very athletic and active. And we'll see another picture here that is in Aristocrat's line. This dog is also from John D. Johnson's yard. That's right, you Scott people. That's a John D. Johnson Bulldog. Notice the long muzzle. Notice the stance. I'm glad you're seeing this because now we can clarify some issues from the past. This is Machine Buckaroo. Machine Buckaroo is Dozer's father. That's right, that's Dozer's father. Doesn't look anything like him, does it? However, that's Dozer's mother. That's Sugar Doll 20. Now that is who Dozer takes after, is Sugar Doll 20. You'll see Elrod later, and Elrod looks like his grandfather. That's also Sugar Doll, but that's Sugar Doll 6 out of James Ellerby's yard. That's Ruby's mother. I loved that dog. That was a great dog. Unfortunately, I couldn't get a better picture of it. The picture there is Muscles Sr., that son of Bruiser Beau, and I think Georgia Firecracker was the mother. A great-looking bulldog. Meaner than the Dickens, however, and I'll show you that in a few minutes and how mean he really was. Way in the background, you probably can't see it. I'll have my finger stick out here in a second. There's a dog way back there. That little piece of blurb is Bruiser Beau, or Bobo. That's the only picture I got of him, unfortunately. That's Sugar Doll's daughter, Bluebell. That's a Philadelphia Bulldog out of James Ellerby's yard. Notice the length of the snout. Still undershot, but it had a long muzzle, could breathe well. Good-looking dog. That is Drummond. Drummond, that picture was sent to me by Kyle Sims. We all know about Bulldog Drummond and Rip and Woody. They're both in Kyle Sims's yard. I saw both of those dogs in person. And that's a John D. Johnson puppy. Now look at the length of the muzzle on that dog. Is that really crushed in? No. That's a puppy from 1986. Those two dogs are also in John D. Johnson's kennel. I don't have the names, but they are, again, from John D. Johnson's kennel in 1986. Probably maximum weight was 100 pounds, 110 pounds. And that's my dog, Primo, or better known as Dick the Cruiser, with Kyle Sims' son. I threw that in there to show you my little puppies at Kyle Sims's yard. Great dog, as you well know, that's Rattler's father. And up above, these dogs here, for you aficionados, the one dog with the brindle patches, that's Elrod. There we go. That's Elrod. The pure white dog is my Miss Whitey. Sorry I didn't do a better job photographing. I just couldn't get it any better than that. But that's the first litter out of Dozer and Ruby, and those are very famous dogs right now. And then finally, that's Tiny, or Dick the Bruiser 2. That was one of the best dogs I've bred to date as far as conformation. That's it right there. Here we are in John D. Johnson's kennel in Somerville, Georgia, late 1990.
9 or 10.
And right there is the last he's bred.
Hi, Red Machine. How are you? Huh? And with him is a female. What's her name?
Note the stance on Red Machine. When you saw it, he was very bowed.
She's a beauty.
He also was 10 years old at the time, but he was a solid dog for his age.
Elrod now.
Boy, that's a nice combination. He's a good-looking dog. Look at the stance on him. That's where Ruby gets his stance, right there. And that's where Whitey gets her stance, right there. Beautiful dogs. Look at that. That's,
For his age, he's pretty now.
yeah, look at him. Again, he's an old guy, but he's a...
When he's young, he's some old dog. If the old man is still getting puppies, as long as he gets puppies, well, I'm going to keep using him.
Absolutely.
You don't need to be looking at me.
Okay.
You can tell John D. Johnson really loves his dogs, and that's very important for all of us. Whether or not we like the style of dog anyone has, you got to know that these people love their animals and they're doing the best they can for their breed.
Look how friendly these dogs are. Here we are, and they're just...
You walk up there and stick your head in there.
He's really impressive.
They might have
Look at
saw
him.
you before, but then let him
Look
see.
at him. Hi.
That's my friend Gary. Why we're making such a big deal of this friendliness is because many of the dogs that I've owned, especially the males, are very, very man-aggressive. And in John D.'s yard, most of the dogs you could go and pet, and that's very important. That's something that I'm striving for myself, that I think we should all look for, is the temperament.
Beautiful dogs. There's no doubt about it.
The Red Machine is a great-grandson of Dick the Bruiser as well.
Uh-huh.
And also son of the Incredible Mean Machine.
Incredible Mean Machine.
Is his size.
We are. Now that's Tiny. That's the dog out of Dozer and Ruby. Right there.
Here you'll see two important dogs as far as I can tell, as far as I will say. Number one, that's Dozer's sister. Look at the pushed-in face on her. She was just an extreme bulldog-looking dog. And that's Tiny. That's my dog that's now down in John D. Johnson's yard at that time. Tiny is out of Dozer and Ruby. You can tell nothing wrong with that dog. He's really athletic, active, very stocky, not that big, probably 95, 100 pounds. When John D. told me his name was Tiny, I figured he'd be about 80 pounds or 75 pounds, but he's probably 95 pounds. And here you see me going in with the dogs. Again, I'm 5 feet 8 inches tall, so it gives you an idea how the size of the dogs. And that one dog is, as I said, Dozer's sister, who I don't think John D. ever got a puppy from. I don't think he ever bred her. Very, very male-looking female, but for my liking, her face was a little too pushed in for my liking. But then again, that's just me, and other people may like that look more.
Bill, he's built like a brick house there. usually.
Yeah, when you leave out there, right, try and get puppies from them.
I don't blame it. Now look at this. Here's these dogs. Since 6 weeks. This one's never seen me, and I ain't going into the kennel. Can't do that up in Binghamton, but we can do it here. Oh, you look at it like Buster. Look at it.
If I had old Dick the Bruiser back young, if he ever started that, they wouldn't nothing know what he would do to get up on me. He could hold it. I saw him one time, one stretched out on the ground, he reached down and picked up me.
Again, I'm making a big deal of how friendly the dogs are. Once again, John Dee's dogs down there were friendly, but they, as we all know, the Johnson dogs do show man aggression. It's just luck of the draw as to which ones you get, I guess.
Exact same spots as Ruby on her back. Exact same. Yes, she does. Yes, she does. Oh, you're a beauty. Yeah. I saw the wrong dog. Yes, I did. This is Sugar. This is Sugar. Hi, Sugar. This is Ruby's.
Sugar Doll is one of John D. Johnson's foundation bitches in my eye. She's about 7 years old at this site. When I first saw her, it was a few years earlier. She looked much better then. As we all know, that when bulldogs get older, they tend to lose some of their size and stamina and strength. So she's pretty much near her last legs right now. When you're looking at her in the video, it doesn't give her real justice as to what she really was as a dog.
She's about the size of Ruby. She's about the size of Ruby. She's 7 years old, though. Yes, she is. Look at her. She's a little doll. Okay. Yeah, this is the one that I saw play with cats. Okay, you girl. Yeah. You're going to be okay. Yes, you're a good girl. You're a good girl. Got a great underbite on her. She's a bulldog. Ain't no doubt about that.
She never did take back up and weight after that last bit of puppies, so this is hard there. She'll stay there at the front door and she's high.
That's Machine. That's Machine right there. Look at him. He's a big boy. He's a big dog. Hi, Machine.
Here you see Johnson's a Machine and a female.
Okay. That's Sally.
Female's name is Sally. Look at the size of these dogs. Very big. Also, their muzzles aren't that short, so they're able to handle the hot weather. As you know how hot it is in Georgia. But that's Sally, big dog, blue brindle colored thing.
Hi, Sally. Hi,
Friendly, good-looking dog.
Beauty. Got what color on that dog?
There they are. You see what they look like back again. This is 1990.
These dogs are so built for strength. It's unbelievable. Just unbelievable.
Look at the back legs on this dog. Again, the muscle structure. Now, if I had these dogs now, there's no way I'd keep them that heavy. I'd drop some pounds off them. I think that helps them live longer. Then again, let's remember that John Dee's got a lot of dogs in his yard, and John Dee's not a young guy anymore, so it's hard to exercise all his dogs. But you could easily drop 10, 15 pounds off these dogs' hair and have a much more solid and much lighter and probably healthier dog. But let's not blame John Dee for that. Let's just realize that as you get older, you just can't keep up with all the rigors of life, and the dogs get to eat a little bit better now, that's all.
Which is a grandson of Dick the Bruiser on both sides. Okay. And then her mother's got some Dick the Bruiser in her. And her brother is colored similar to her. So he might be a little richer and have a little more white on his face. And he's bigger. He's the one that whipped three bull terriers and took black men all at the same time.
I can see this one wants a piece of her.
I see her to play.
She wants to play?
Yeah, she knows it.
She's a beauty. She's a beauty. Oh, there's no question. You got beautiful dogs here, John Dee. She and he?
I think he's fixing to come in here.
Yeah.
He keeps inspecting her pretty close.
Yeah, he's doing a pretty good check out. Hi. Oh, you're a good-looking girl. Oh, you are too. Yeah. Oh, you like that scratch in the back. I know everybody does.
I make it a point to always try to scratch the dogs in the back, figuring that they like it, number one. Number two is if they turn to bite me, I can usually get away a little bit easier than going face first on the dogs. But I never had a problem with any of John Dee's dogs with regards to that. If you go in the yard, they were good. and that's important, as we all know.
Chest on him.
He's a big dog. He's a big boy. Well, last time I saw Machine, it was 98 degrees up here when I picked up Toast. It was so hot, and poor Machine was sitting right here at the fence, looking at me. It was a hot day. Okay.
Should say record.
Yeah. Granddaughter Bobo right here. She's a big girl. Look at that one. Hi, girl.
This is a granddaughter of Bobo. I believe her name's Colette. I really like John Dee's females in his yard back in 1990, and I'll talk about them more as we go along. I like the structure, I like the length of the muzzle, and they were good size. They weren't enormous, you know, maybe 90 pounds, 95 pounds the biggest, maybe 100 pounds the biggest, but they're mostly structured fairly well. You saw two different types. You see this type here, a little longer muzzle, a good-looking dog, and then you'll see another type coming up, which I really liked.
He's bigger than Elvis dog.
Right. Look at this cute little thing. See this cute? Is this a pup? Must be a pup. I know who this one is.
This is a daughter of the Red Machine, that little red dog there, and that's her mother-daughter combination here. You get to see different coloring. Again, that Red Machine throws off that color that is predominant. And you really just have to look at the color of the dogs nowadays. You can tell if it's got a lot of Red Machine in it because it carries that deep reddish tan color. That's the only bulldog I've seen with that color. I'm sure there are more, but that's the dog that's thrown it the most in our bloodlines.
Now, is that her mother?
That's her mother.
Then who's the father?
The Red Machine.
The Red Machine.
Yeah.
Wow, she's a big one. 16 weeks. Hi.
Landers won't see her. She's a full sister to the daddy of Landers' dog.
Well, she's got Red Machine in her. You can tell by the front of her.
Yeah.
Because that's a trademark of them dogs. Look at that. Hi. Well, I missed the day for you. Well, you can be up north when it's below zero out all the time.
I just mentioned trademark in the video. That may not be the best characteristic for these dogs, too, is they have those wide-bowed legs. And unfortunately, I think Red Machine threw that.
Same.
She's a fast little bird.
Yeah, it's the same type of motions as Ruby. Oh, yes, you are. You're just like Ruby. Yes, you are.
This was my favorite female in the yard. The reason why I liked her so much is because of her activity. Very, very quick, very bulldoggy in a sense, but not over bulldoggy. But you can tell by her motions she had a lot of spit in her. You can see that. She's quick. She's a dominant-looking dog. She carried her tail very well. She looked at all the other dogs and wanted to be the queen of the yard. I really liked this dog. This was one of my favorites.
She's 18 months old, Gary. That's Marie. She's 18 months old. If I were to guess her weight, probably 80 pounds. Good girl. It's all right. All right, Gary. Down here. Come on down.
Of course, we couldn't have picked a worse day to be down in Georgia. It's late in the year, it's rainy, it's muddy, it's just not a pleasant day, but we had no choice. The reason why you see this video taken the day it is because this is the day I brought Elrod down to John D. Johnson for him to keep. I'd had enough of Elrod being mean in my yard. I already had a mean dog in Dozer, and I didn't need Dozer's son to aggravate the situation, so I brought Elrod down to John D. because John D. wanted a big bulldog, and we all know how big Elrod turned out to be.
Well, he's put on some pounds since I've seen him last.
Hi, Aristocrat.
He gets to run.
This was my favorite male. This is Aristocrat. This is 3 years after I saw him originally. He's put on some pounds since the first time I saw him. But Aristocrat was a real good bulldog. Very active, very, very athletic. The first time I saw Aristocrat, he was jumping all over the house, up and around. He was probably 2 or 3 at the time. Now he's older in this video, but you can tell he still has the run of the yard. That's why John D. lets him out and lets him run the kennels. Of course, this ended soon because this is Elrod's first day in the kennel, and as Elrod got older, and Elrod became the king of the yard.
Good boy.
He's up his 5-foot fence. He's improved that.
Hiya, buddy. That's Aristocrat. See him? Hiya, buddy.
Again, we're petting Aristocrat now. The first time that I saw Aristocrat, there was no way you could pet him, so John D. did have good fortune with Aristocrat with respect to having him become more people-friendly. This is the dog that I saw back in '86 that I wanted a puppy from. But instead of getting a puppy from him, I got a puppy out of Machine Buckaroo, who you will not see in the video because John D. sold him to somebody, I believe, in Spain. I'm not sure about that, but I believe so.
What's her name? Who's this?
That's Colette the Third.
Colette the Third, and there's Elrod. Elrod's new home. Still got a sore shoulder, but he'll come around. He's tall.
This is Elrod's first day. Elrod had a right front OCD done at Cornell when I had him, so that's why he's showing just a little bit of favoritism on his right front shoulder. However, his hips were fine. They were checked at Cornell. I never bothered to OFA him because in those days you didn't do those things. You just want to make sure the dog's hips are fine for breeding purposes.
Don't get out.
Okay. Hi, pup. Come on in, Gary.
Here's the Johnson's Rose.
Johnson, well, this is Rose. Hi, Rose. Hi, girl. Yeah.
I want to apologize up front here for the obvious amateur video. We've learned a lot over the last 13 years, and if I take another video now, you'll see the difference. But back in those days, I was probably one of the first to have a video camera. Not too many of us had them, and I certainly wasn't real good at taking video. And as you all know, when you're dealing with dogs, they move all over the place, and you're shooting from a confined area. It's just so hard to catch them, and you want to show the audience all the good attributes, but you know, it's not that easy.
She's a gorgeous dog. There's no doubt about that. She's by herself, huh?
Yeah.
She get along with males, or?
Yeah, she get along well already. And I had her on up there where that puppy and her mother was at. I had her there, and her
Good girl.
sister on the other side, and one of the dogs on this side, and they got along just fine.
I don't know what John D.'s yard looks like today. I haven't been down there in years, but I certainly enjoyed being down there when I was. I think the dogs he had in his yard when I saw him were fine. Some of them better than others, but then again, when you have so many dogs, you're going to find some dogs better than others. So let's tip our hats to John D. Johnson for having these many dogs and showing the perseverance that he did show to keep this breed going. Whether or not you're a Scott fan or a Johnson fan or just an old Southern White fan, you have to appreciate people who do the best they can to try to preserve what they like in dogs. And John D. certainly is that type of person. We should tip our hats to him and also to the other breeders of
Now,
old.
what do you feed them? You feed them Joy?
No, we feed Promar.
What it's called?
Pro, P-R-O,
Yep.
and then M-A-R-K.
ProMark. Okay.
It had no soybean meal in it.
No soybean meal in it.
It gets all the protein from meat base.
Okay.
Now that we're talking about dog food, you folks who have dogs now are much more in better dealings with what type of foods we should eat. But the only tip I can give you is never feed a bulldog puppy chow. They don't need it, and try to keep the protein lower. I learned that from the troubles I had with my dogs and the studies that I was involved with at Cornell University with my dogs, because I first started feeding my dogs Eukanuba as puppies, and it did nothing but advance their growth at a rapid rate, and their ligaments didn't catch up to their muscle growth, and that's why I was popping out knees left and right.
Hard balls. If you went for a year, it was soft and normal. How would you feel? Which way would you feel the best?
That's right. You're absolutely right.
The dog's the same way.
And I've proven that with my dogs feeding Eukanuba, messing them all up, and I did it to help them, and I actually hurt them. I hurt them a lot. And that's how you learn. I learned this way.
This is a good-looking bulldog here.
Beauty.
Nice, stout physique. And now you'll see again, you look at other different styles of dogs. You see the different female styles, and I've had them in my yard. Some females have a little bit more pushed-in faces. Some have a little longer faces. Now, not always does it mean that if a dog has a longer snout that it's got a better breathing capability. That's not the truth. That's not the case. In odds are they usually have a little bit better, but you just can't count that. What makes it happen is the palate itself. And a long-muzzled dog can have an elongated palate, just like a short-muzzled dog. The chances of a short-muzzled dog having an elongated palate are greater. But when you look at a short-muzzled dog, don't automatically think that it can't breathe. Because later in the video, I'll show you my dog Molly, who's out of Vader Red and Waltz's Vixen, that has a short muzzle who can breathe as well as any pit bull in the country.
Oh, she's nice.
You can come in, pet her if you want to.
Go pet her, go pet her. I'll take a picture of her. Hi, girl.
See, this is Rose?
That's one of Rose's daughters. She's about third or fourth, somewhere along.
This is a Rose daughter. Remember, I mentioned to you that, hopefully I mentioned to you, that the dog I wanted originally was out of Aristocrat and Rose. This is a Rose daughter. But I never got a dog out of Aristocrat and Rose. But I like the shape of this dog. A good-looking dog, solid dog, pretty big for a female, and again, the temperament's fine.
Bruiser's mother and father, by any chance, did they ever tell you?
I've got it.
I'll take a look at it. Again, I'm going to state on this video.
I just asked John D. Johnson if he knew the names of the mother and father of Dick the Bruiser. For those of you who don't know this already, and I'm sure most of you do, John D. bought Dick the Bruiser from somebody down south. John D. didn't breed Dick the Bruiser. So the pedigree of Dick the Bruiser himself is up for grabs as to who it came from. But nobody is certainly going to doubt that Dick the Bruiser was a very, very good bulldog.
These are what American Bulldogs are, right here. They're not pit bulls. American Bulldogs.
You are. You're a good girl.
And I don't see no bad bone dogs here, to be honest with you.
You hear me mention that in the video about bad bone dogs. Is don't think that it's just a new thing that people were bad-mouthing other breeders. Even back then, there were breeders saying that all Johnson dogs were bad-boned and what have you. That's not the case. Obviously, some dogs are better than others, but I didn't see any major crippled dogs down here. And I've owned crippled dogs, so I know what happens in the litters. But these dogs are structurally sound, happy, obviously well cared for, and that's really all we can hope for.
We're thinking maybe we ought to go back and get
Hi,
some more.
Hi, how you doing?
This is very interesting. This is the Incredible Hulk, and you'll see a small dog coming in here as well. It's hard to understand John D. Johnson here, but you see Hulk limping a little bit. Just a week or so earlier, Hulk had fought two dogs, and John D. mentions in this video that they are two pit bull terriers that these two guys brought down and tried to shove under the fence to have a scrap with this dog, and they barely got the other two dogs out alive. I guess this Hulk really beat them badly, and John D. was pretty proud of that, as that would be the case for anybody to be proud of that.
He's probably licking a barbecue right off our hands. Good boy. Good boy.
Our son-in-law died when the oldest man was born.
Also note here that he's getting along well with other dogs. Now look real carefully here at this other bulldog.
When they come home and find him like that, he's Robert's dog now. He's really proud of it.
Hiya, buddy.
Oh,
You're a good-looking bulldog.
good boy.
Hi, Hulk. Hi, how you doing?
Jenny, I love going into this thing.
Now that's Robert's dog there. These are hers here.
Stay down.
God, it looks just like an English bull, that one. Little tail on it. Look at little tail on it.
Sometimes they'll come with a stump.
They will?
That started in the 17th century. First, let's see, Lucy, I believe was the name. First one I saw in pictures there in the 17th.
Now this is a classic situation where you can have discussion forever. That's supposed to be an American Bulldog, I'm sure it is. There is conjecture that this dog was one of the dogs out of the Bullmead's Queen breeding. Now, I don't know. I have no idea. He never mentioned it. But it certainly has a different appearance than the other bulldogs that you see here. Interesting to note. I'm glad I got it on video. But you did see all the dogs in John D's yard, and they all look like this dog I'm going to zoom in on now. That's the Hulk. And this other dog was, remember now, we're not in John D's yard right now. We're at his daughter's house. So these are house dogs basically, but you see the difference in the two.
They really took care of those other dogs, huh?
And those fellas hadn't come back wanting to fight him no more either.
He had blood from one end to the other.
Good Lord.
His other dogs blood though, he had 3 cuts on him.
Yeah, he was hurt.
Now see, I got dog Dozer, and Gary and I were talking all the way up here. See, my dog then goes around. Hey, bud.
It was really nice to be able to go and pet this dog after, especially what I heard about him fighting these other 2 dogs. And normally, if you have a situation where a bulldog is that animal aggressive, they usually tend to be people aggressive as well. But in this case, you're seeing a pretty happy dog. Again, I dropped 10 pounds off this dog. I think I make him feel better. But he is a nice-looking dog. And again, a well-tempered dog, and if you look at his snout's not that short, but he looks like a bulldog. And I like dogs that look like bulldogs, but I also like dogs that can do normal work and can breathe and don't have real bad problems. So in my breeding program, I'm shooting for the dogs that look like bulldogs yet can act and deal with other situations. Now, I don't like this dog here, but again, that's just my opinion. We're all entitled to it.
We gotta go all the way back to New York.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to go.
Good looking dog, I'll tell you that.
Here we are in James Ellerby's yard in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, around the same time, a little later on. You're looking at Muscles.
Hi, Pup. Mr. Shepherd. Which one's this? This is
Zarek.
Zach?
No,
Zarek?
Zarek. It was
Hi, Zarek. Hi, Zarek. How are you? So there's 3. I'm going to go over here.
Champagne right here. Magic is under there.
Now you're going to see a black bulldog come out.
Beautiful. That's
There she is. That's Champagne 2, which is my Muscles 2's sister. That's out of Champagne Senior. Let me call her that. But there's that black bulldog I was telling you about. That's the 2nd or 3rd generation black bulldog that James was trying to create. So you get to see it. You'll see a little bit more of it there. And this was what James' goal was to create a black bulldog. And you hear me say that's Muscle's sister. Yeah, that's it. She looks a little worse for wear here. Her father beat the bejesus out of her.
When son was working, he had ate her up and
Get
rocket
closer to him.
magic up over here. So I had to
And there's Muscles Senior.
Mean looking dog.
He's mean right now. He's going to birds and barking.
Oh, look at him. Hi, Muscles. Hi, Muscles. Yeah, I hear you.
Muscles.
I hear you. You're a rugged one, aren't you? I know. Okay. That's Muscles. He is,
Now we're
let's
fast
see, he's
forwarding
almost 2 years old
to
now, isn't he? 2 years.
Muscles 2, which is the dog you just saw. This is his son. This is the dog I got from James Ellerby. What a great dog he is. Not was, but is. He's still alive, ladies and gentlemen. He's about almost 13 years old.
Without question, we got rid of the wrong dog. There he is.
I'm referring to a situation where I had Dozer and Muscles at the same time, obviously. And Muscles, who, as you can see, is very athletic and very quick and agile, he was also very dog aggressive, and he kept attacking and trying to fight Dozer. And Dozer was just so much bigger and so much stronger that to save Muscles' life, I put him on this gentleman's farm here in Pennsylvania because he's a great dog. And I said on the video here I gave away the wrong dog because I was just at that time and so tired of having Dozer trying to eat people alive, and here I had a dog, Muscles, that I could have kept. It was just people friendly and very athletic and very easygoing. And you'll see Dozer here in a while, and you'll see that he's a little bit different dog.
There he is. Muscles. He's a show-off. Look at him. What a beautiful dog he is.
Can I look at him?
Not yet.
You hear my son in the background. To give you an idea how long ago this was, my son's 6 feet tall and going on 15 years of age right now.
Yeah, okay.
He obviously doesn't feel much pain.
Michael, get over here. Oh, no.
You gotta remember now, he hasn't seen Michael in a year and a half. Anyway, more than that. Now look at him. Look at how he acts with the kids. Here's a great example
I'm
of how the dog
really happy to see Muscles acting the way he was acting with my family. Again, I mentioned in the video he hadn't seen us in a while. It's so important to have these dogs be friendly with people, especially children. You want to make sure that they are sociable and they can be in different environments and not go haywire and start biting people left and right. Now, Muscles is the son of Muscle Sr., who, as I said before, you saw just a few minutes ago. Muscle Sr. was an incredibly mean dog. However, James Ellerby tells me that that's because he got Muscles from somebody who was teasing it. So I took a chance on using Muscles as a breed dog because he told me that Muscles probably would not have been mean if he was treated differently when he was younger. And I got lucky here because Muscles Jr. has a terrific personality. And he's full of scrap and scrape, as you can see. He's just really a fine-looking bulldog. And for you Scott lovers out there, or you Scott haters, whatever, if you look at that dog, you see a dog that resembles that type of a bulldog with respect to a little longer in the leg, a little longer in the snout. However, he is undershot, and he is still alive and still active.
He's about I think he's Tarzan.
Whoa! Yeah, he's about as big as our yeah. Michael, get up! Mike!
You are seeing Muscles 2. This is again around 1991. This is one of my first dogs, one of my first 3. Again, Muscles 2. This little mutt right here is my foundation bitch. That's Ruby, born 1987. Got it from James Ellerby. That's the daughter of Bruiser Beau and Sugar Doll. I couldn't have asked for a better dog than Ruby, and she was a great foundation bitch. She produced great, big, beautiful bulldogs. And here she is in my yard, probably after her first litter. And she's there with my daughter, who's now has graduated high school and is on her way to Ithaca College. It gives you an idea of how time flies when you're with bulldogs.
More than her daughters. But she doesn't lack anything in scrap, I'll tell you that. She is a scrapper. She is also very loving. Again, this is how an American Bulldog should be.
I make it a point to mention how loving she is, and again, because at that time I had Dozer, and Dozer was known far and wide for his ferocity, which was true. I always tried to shoot for the Ruby-style personality, which was ferocious when only she needed to be. Here she is with my daughter, and she was a friend of the neighborhood. I've written a few little short stories about her. She was very smart, could climb staircases on situations with my kids in the park. She would climb the slides and come down on the metal slides, and she never fell, never missed a beat. I think she just liked to be with the kids. I don't think she really enjoyed climbing up the stairs, but she just didn't want to miss out any time with her children. And she really was the neighborhood dog. Everybody loved Ruby. And in a few minutes you'll see her jumping around with me a little bit. I'd like to show you this quiet side. It's seldom that I got her on video. I very rarely took a picture of her because once she starts to move, she's perpetual motion. And it's just hard to get her in that mode where you can take a good picture of her. Dozer, on the other hand, was easier to take a picture of because he picked his spots as to when he wanted to be active and aggressive and when he just wanted to lay around and eat and sleep. Ruby, on the other hand, was much more agile. So unfortunately for you folks, we didn't have too many pictures of Ruby during her life, but hopefully on this video you'll see enough of her to get an understanding as to why my family loved her so much and why she was really a great foundation dog, and the dogs that came out of her were something very, very special. She's going to get up now and play with me a little bit, and watch how quick she responds to the hand movements. I used to love playing with her, but she'd bite me every now and then. She gets going, and the harder you played with Ruby, the harder she would play back, and there was just no stopping her once she started. She just kept going and going, and everything was straightforward with her. You knock her down, she'll come right back. Never backed up ever. Never saw her back up to anything in my life. And I love that about her, but I also loved her ability to know when to stop and know when to be a nice dog. And in the background, you'll see her puppies and Dozer. And you're looking at, in the background also, the shed that I had them in and the shed that I had puppies from. And Ruby basically saved the lives of her puppies by pulling a burning broom out of the shed when it caught on fire one Christmas morning. Amazing dog, Ruby. You can tell she's not the biggest dog I've ever had, but she certainly was a superior animal. And if all the bulldogs were like Ruby, we'd, I think, all be very, very happy. Now we're coming into the back of my machine shop, and you're going to meet one of Ruby's great daughters, and the father, and that father is Dozer Bruno, the world famous Dozer Bruno. And here they are, coming into the kennel. Whitey, 10 months old, daughter of Dozer. And here, ladies and gentlemen, is Dozer. There they are. On guard. Hi, Doze. Hi, Whitey White. There they are. Whitey coming up, and there's the big boy right there. We're going to get a nice picture of him real soon here. Zoom in on him.
Yeah.
There they are. Look at him. There's Dozer. There's the one you have the picture of right there. Here I am playing down in the back of my machine shop with Whitey and Dozer. And it's really interesting to watch these dogs play. We're not going to see anything substantial with respect to biting capabilities here. You'll see that in a minute. But what you're going to see is kind of interesting that Dozer wants to play with me, and Whitey won't let him. Whitey is really biting at him. Every time I go to Rough House with Dozer, she'll jump in the way because she wants to make sure that in her own little way she tries to protect me. It's really kind of interesting. I loved Whitey. Whitey ended up with Mark Landers, as you know. She was a beautiful, well-rounded, hard bulldog. I really enjoyed her as a pet, and she was a great brood bitch, as you all know. Probably many of you have some of her in your lineage, and that's what Whitey looked like when she was a young dog. She was probably 9 or 10 months old there, and her old man Dozer, he's there, and he's all that in a bag of chips, old Doze, I'll tell you that. Here we are looking into the backyard of my house on Cornell Avenue in Binghamton, New York, back in 1990, 1991, in that area. 1990, and there is Elrod. Elrod is a puppy just before he goes to John Dee's place. Look how tall he is. That's a 4-foot fence. And there's his sister, Tuffy. Tuffy was never bred. Tuffy was a 100-pound female. And never bred because I took her to Cornell University and had her left hip operated on. The procedure, you can see the scar there. The procedure was called a hip imbrication. What they wanted to do was tighten the hip up, stick it farther into the socket. And after they did the surgery, they checked on her 3 months later, and they told me they made a big mistake in even doing the surgery because the dog's muscle structure sucked it in on its own. So the outcome of the surgery was basically they stiffened her leg for no reason because they just shoved it in so far that she wasn't able to move as well as she should have. But because of that, I never bred her, and I gave her to my buddy. Gary Button is his name. I mentioned his name as that's the same guy. The reason why I got rid of old Elrod there is because Elrod tried to take Gary Button's arm off one day when Gary went to pet him. And Gary had known Elrod since he was a puppy. So because he showed those tendencies and that he was getting really aggressive, and you saw Dozer, I already had Dozer in the yard, and I really didn't need 2 of those. So I called old John Dee up and brought old Elrod down, and the rest is history. John Dee used Elrod on a number of his females and produced a number of dogs. And Elrod has made a contribution to this breed, but that's the reason why I got rid of Elrod, is because he was getting snotty like his dad. Here we are in the back of my machine shop, and if you look closely, we have a new dog in the batch there, and that dog is Jake. That dog is a product out of Ruby and Muscles 2. This is Jake and Whitey. Jake. Let me sneak up on these boys. Hold on a second. Let me shut this down, turn it on again.
We got a bit on the thing.
Here's Whitey. Whitey's got some pups in her, I think.
Isn't she a beauty? And there's Jake. Look at the size of that dog, Jake. Year old. All right, I'm gonna let these dogs out. We're gonna run them down near the river. I'm gonna show you how American Bulldogs are supposed to run, jump, and play. Here they come. Whoa. Okay. Down. Down. Look. There they are. And
Take this water down there.
yeah, take the water down there for the other dogs. Okay, we're off. Here we go. There's Jake up there. He's coming up at me now. Hi, Jake. They're gonna kill me. Dog's down there.
Jake is still alive, and as a matter of fact, he is the big stud dog for Tim Phaneuf, who took Jake from me a few years back. You're seeing a video that has Jake, Whitey, Dozer, and the black and white dog is Pixie, who is Jake's sister. Again, Jake is out of Ruby and Muscles, and he's a culmination of one of my breeding programs with Ruby and Muscles. Jake is just watch him run, just watch him play, and watch Pixie.
Guess who that is, folks?
Hi, Doze. How you doing, Dozer?
Guess who that is?
Hi, Doze. Hi, Dozy.
You can hear my father saying hi, Doze, and you notice every time we talk to Dozer, we talk to him in a higher, nicer voice, because we just want to make sure he remembers who we are so he doesn't tear you apart. But Dozer got along well with my father and about 3 other people in the world, which, thank God, was the case, or otherwise when I went away on vacation, he couldn't get fed. Now watch these 2 dogs go. These are brother and sister. I had to separate them because Jake was killing her. And Pixie didn't take a back seat. She just wants a piece of him, but she's just not big enough. But she was a great dog. I gave her to a woman out in Oxford, New York, where she's lived a very comfortable, peaceful life, and to my knowledge, she's still alive. And Jake is still going, and he's still scrappy.
Brother and sister, raising hell. Oh yeah, these are dogs that are not supposed to be able to run, remember?
Now, these dogs are featured on this video to show you that what I was trying to shoot for as far as the dog's concerned. Now, the lineage of Jake is, again, Muscles and Champagne. And Champagne is back a generation in his breeding. As you know, Jake is out of Muscles 2 and Ruby. Champagne, definitely 1 or 2 generations back, had a Philadelphia Fighting Dog inner that was a black dog. James wasn't specific as to what type of fighting dog it was. He thought it might have been a black lab pit mix. No question in my mind that it was a Neo pit mix, which is a band dog, because James occasionally kenneled his dogs where they had Neapolitan Mastiffs, so it makes sense that they would have that background in it. So I've never kept it a secret. Other breeders in those days, I'm sure, had a little outcross every now and then and kept it secret. I didn't outcross myself. I just used the dogs that I had were dealt to me, but I was very proud to have used Muscles 2. Great dog, still alive, and when you use Muscles 2, I got Jake, and Jake's a real good-looking dog, as you can tell. Big, strong, very healthy, and full of spit and polish, as you can see. Undershot, but a longer snout, active, muscular, and he dwarfs Whitey, and Whitey was a pretty big bulldog herself. But I wanted to show you this. As a matter of fact, Whitey is pregnant with puppies out of Jake. That's the first litter they've had. They had 2 litters. Jake and Whitey had 2 litters, and I will be showing you in a second what happens when you breed Jake and Whitey together. Here you see Bruno. This is Bruno, who is son of Jake and Whitey. Bruno's 6.5, and in a few minutes we'll replay this, and he's barking and being very nasty at my friend who has seen him probably 30 times and fed him 15 times. Bruno is just mean, flat out mean, huge, as you can tell. He's a monster of a dog, monster head, monster legs. Unfortunately, he's very arthritic. I wanted to show people that not all breeding programs work exactly like you'd like them, but there's Bruno, and that's not what we're shooting for, but that's what we have, and we'll keep him in my kennel until his time where he can't handle the program anymore. But he won't be my stud dog. He's never bred, so we'll go from there. But you will see in a second. Listen to that dog growl.
Out of Jake and Whitey. He is had elbow surgery, knee surgery. His hips are fine, but...
By the way, you see that this was done on June of 1999, just recently, and it was very, very hot. We set the heat records for the day. We just missed. I was filming this just before a monstrous thunderstorm came through. It was about 95 degrees. So, and this is my Brindy, and I'll show you a little more here in a minute. She is just my sweetheart, and we'll have her running around for you. But she is, that's what you want, and that's Bruno's sister. So even though Bruno didn't come out right, Brindy is probably the best dog I've ever owned at this point. As far as her temperament, she's got great size, can breathe great, shows protection tendencies when she needs to. She's been called into service a number of times in my house as far as guarding the door is concerned. The only thing she's ever killed was a bird, and she did that on her own. We were out in my woods, and she just ran up on it and caught it and ate it. Here we see Molly, who's out of Vader Red and Waltz's Vixen. She's my sweetheart. She's my new dog, and the other dog you see there with her is my Bowser. Now, Bowser is totally out of my line. Bowser's father is Ferdinand. Ferdinand is Dozer and Maggie's son. Maggie is Jake's sister. So Bowser's got both Dozer and Jake's bloodline in it, and that's my stuff. So I either got to live or die by what I've done with Bowser, and I'm pretty happy with how he is so far. He's just a puppy. He's got a long ways to go. He's just turned a year old. He's good size. He's not overly big, though. He's not very mean. He's still very precocious, however. Got a lot of drive. He enjoys being with people. He loves to run around, loves to scrap and scrape. And we're going to see what we can do with Bowser. We'll see how he turns out. And there goes Molly flying down to the pond. Molly is definitely different than my other dogs. She reminds me a lot of Ruby, her size. Her personality is different. She's a little more laid back. However, when it is time to play, she fires up pretty hard. And then she calms down pretty easy. But she fires up harder than my dogs. But my other dogs are more territorial at this point than Molly is. I'm very pleased with Molly. She's got the biggest underbite of any of my dogs, and people think of me as being a total quote-unquote Johnson guy. I got Molly from somebody else, and Molly has the most undershot bite of any of my dogs, which is about a ½ inch. You saw big Bruno there. He's barely undershot, and Brindy's barely undershot, and Bowser's just a little undershot. Molly's got the most undershot bite. However, Molly also has great staying capability. She can run with the pits all day, all night. She used to live with the pits, and she trained with the pits with respect to their exercise campaign, and the person I got her from said that she held up her own, and I certainly wouldn't doubt it. I've never seen her tire, and she should be a fine addition to my breeding program. That's why I got her. I wanted to outcross a little bit to see what we could do, and I still have a dog that obviously looks like a bulldog, but has a little different temperament, which is something that I have to experiment with my dogs because of the inherent meanness, for some reason, that I throw, particularly on the male side, and we want to get rid of that as much as we can. Here we see Bowser and Molly in their feeding spot, doorway near the kitchen. She's so gentle when she takes food, and I want to get a little shot of their faces. Really pretty dogs. I mean, if you're going into aesthetics, I don't think you're going to find much prettier than old Bows there. I call him old Bows. He's just almost a year old now. He's just a puppy. Molly will be 2 in July. They get along great together. They're certainly full of the spit, I'll tell you. But this is their playtime with me as they come in the house, and we put that little guard up, otherwise they'll just tear through it and eat my furniture. So we have them stuck out there in the laundry room, and we throw them scraps, and that's their playtime. They certainly enjoy that part of the day. Here we are with Bowser doing a little tug work with him. He's just a puppy, just starting to get going, and I'm real careful not to deter him in any way, but he's starting to show a little strength. You see the size of him. He's a good sized dog. But he's nice long. He's long in the leg. He's not real short, and he's having fun. He's enjoying the games now that we're playing together. I like the way he holds his tail. His tail is always up, erect. He's a happy dog. He's a confident dog. He enjoys being with his master. He enjoys being with people, and time will tell whether or not he'll be a proven stud dog as far as temperament's concerned. We'll wait and see. But so far, I'm not disappointed by him. That's for sure. Again, we're in a holding pattern with him, but I want to show you what the dogs look like when they're playing a little, and that's what we're doing with old Bowser here. Well, one final shot of my little Brindy running around like a 6.5-year-old puppy. She's just everything I wanted. Before this video ends, I think you all want and deserve to see a little bite work, and this is Dozer. Watch my feet. I can't hold him back. Kind of hurts his abilities, but watch me. I slide as he pushes away. I cannot stop this dog from going. See that? No matter what, I can't hold him back, which screws up the ability for him to show real well when he bites. But that's how strong he is.
You know, and start a line like in front of you, so your dog kind of gets. So then you got to take your dog and move your dog up, you know, so that they try to hide you if they think they're going to get. Cheating. It's not politics, that's cheating.
No, this is American Bulldog. American Bulldog, yeah. Oh yeah, much smaller. This is supposedly, from what he says, this is the way the original English Bulldog looked. And these dogs came over. The settlers brought them over in the 1600s, and down south. And we didn't change them, but the English changed their dog, downsized their dogs. He used to have regular English Bulldogs, but they have so many health problems.
Yeah. You have like 80 people running around outside the ring screaming at these dogs and ringing bells, and the dogs are all going, yeah. It's ludicrous. And I said, oh my God.
Well, this woman was ticking me off, and it was the first thing I'd ever seen. And so I was looking at her, and I looked at her, she stopped ringing. And I looked away, and all of a sudden, I turned around and she said, so I went over and I stood there.
Charlie Starr, the guy who's announcing this, has a Schutzhund 3 dog. The guy who's the agitator has a Schutzhund 3 Rottweiler.
And what's ludicrous
He does bite. Look at that tail.
You have so many people ringing bells and calling names. It's frustrating, you know, and then you have a dog that's good, and you can't get up. I mean, I haven't got a I just got 3 Canadian trials this dog went up there. The dog was 15 points.
Dave's high enthusiasm is encouraging herd's dog. Come on, Doze. Takes the tree out. Go get him, Doze.
What a bruiser, huh?
Yeah, God, that must be awful to work.